Today, we've got an incredibly dangerous meat cleaver for you. One that's intimidating enough to make even the toughest people sweat. But when it arrived in our workshop, it was in worse condition than scrap metal. Today, we're bringing it back to life through a complete restoration. First, the handle rivets were carefully ground away, and the old wooden handle was removed. Next, the blade was thoroughly cleaned with soapy water, washing away years of built-up dirt and grime. Now came the most satisfying step, sandblasting. As the rust disappeared, the blade's original steel slowly began to reveal itself. But even then, large and small pits were still clearly visible across the surface. That's when the real magic began. The blade was first sanded using 40 grit sandpaper. As the sanding continued, the blade started to heat up, so it was repeatedly dipped into cold water to keep it cool and preserve its hardness. After countless passes, most of the deep pits had nearly disappeared. Then the blade was refined with 120 grit sandpaper, followed by even finer grits until the entire surface became incredibly smooth. Honestly, watching the attention to detail here makes it feel like the craftsman is obsessed with perfection. Even the old company markings on the blade were carefully cleaned using a small polishing tool. Finally, the entire blade was polished on a buffing wheel, and within moments, it had a mirror-like shine. The blade was then completely wrapped in tape to protect it from scratches during the next steps. Now it was time for the new handle. The old handle simply wasn't good enough because its design wasn't comfortable to hold, so a fresh wooden board was selected. The shape of the blade's tang was traced onto it, and the wood was cut accordingly. Both wooden scales were carefully sanded until perfectly even. Wood glue was applied. The blade's tang was placed between them, and everything was tightly clamped together, ensuring a perfect fit. Next, 3 holes were drilled for the rivets. Once the glue had fully cured, the excess wood was removed, and the new handle finally began to take shape. Now came the hardest part. Using a grinder, the handle was carefully shaped to fit the human hand. First, the thickness was adjusted, then the edges were rounded, and finally, smooth curves were carved until holding the knife felt completely natural. Nuts and bolts were crafted, threads were cut into them, and screwdriver slots were added to the tops. All 3 bolts and nuts were then installed and tightened securely into the handle. The excess material sticking out was ground flush, and the entire handle was repeatedly sanded with fine grit sandpaper. Slowly but surely, an ordinary wooden handle transformed into a premium finish. Finally, natural oil was applied, protecting the wood for years to come while enhancing its natural beauty. And just like that, this 30-year-old meat cleaver was completely restored, looking as good as new. Before the restoration, it was nothing more than a rusted piece of metal. Now, the blade's finish shines like a mirror.